Hello, welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. Is Joe Biden good? That's what we're going to talk about today. But briefly, I first wanted to discuss what Escaping the Echo Chamber is. In the past, it may have meant me helping you escape the echo chamber, but I realized, what about my echo chamber? When do I get out of my echo chamber? And that's what I think is much more important. It's important for me to do the work of getting out of my echo chamber and not just assuming that I'm right, but actually taking a deep and honest look at what other people think, their perspectives, and how they got to to some of these ideas and ideologies. So that's what I'm going to do today and going forward. But today I wanted to look at the perspective of people who have supported Joe Biden, people who are happy Joe Biden won, people who may have been celebrating. Because as you know, about November 7th, when it started to appear that Joe Biden was going to be the next president of the United States, there was a celebration all over the country, celebrations all over the country. Here in New York, people were dancing on the sidewalks, cars driving, honking horns, people on the in Central Park I was at, people just waving signs as cars drove by, honking horns. It was a celebration. I wasn't celebrating because, well, I wouldn't say that I don't like Joe Biden, because I hate Joe Biden. And I'll get into that later on, but this isn't about me. This is about you. And I'm going to try to see things as best as I can. And I guess I can always get better, but see things better from a perspective that isn't my own, as to why people think Joe Biden, like Joe Biden, and from that perspective, is Joe Biden, from other perspectives, is Joe Biden good? So let's take a look at several different points: competence, unity, compassion, and criminal justice. Let's start with competence. Is Joe Biden competent? Well, let's compare him to the other guy. The other guy had no idea what he was doing. No experience in government. Even though no experience in government, in my perspective, doesn't necessarily mean the person isn't competent. But even as a businessman, there were serious questions about his competency. But when we just look at government, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what the procedures were. He didn't even know what the limits on his authority and power was. And so Joe Biden is clearly more confident than that. And hey, this guy's got nearly 50 years in government, of working in government. He's been a senator for decades. He's 8 years as vice president of the United States. So I think it's fairly safe to make the assessment that he is competent and that he knows what he's doing. So in that aspect, is he good? Okay, yeah, hell yeah. I'll go with that. He knows what he's doing. But when I'm talking good, when I'm speaking about good, I'm not really talking about ability. So let's look at another aspect. Unity. One of the things that people have been expressed a lot of concern about is the disunity, the polarization, the divisiveness that seems to be permeating throughout our society right now. So right now, a lot of people are looking for somebody who they feel can be a unifier. Can Joe Biden unify people? Now, I think that question has different aspects in terms of, can he unify the the political parties, people in Congress, people across the aisle, which is a separate question, I think, from can he unify Americans as a whole. I don't know if anybody is, I don't see a lot of people really positing or promising that Joe Biden will be able to unite all Americans. I mean, the sentiment is there, but I think that's a tall ask, me personally. So even if you believe that that can happen, I'm not going to hold that against him because I don't think one person really can. I think it's up to us as individuals whether or not we come together. But as far as working with people across the aisle, I have no doubt that Joe Biden can do that. He's, like I said, he has a track record of being in government. He has a track record of working with Republicans. He has friendships with Republicans from across the aisle. He has many friendships and relationships within the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, Republican establishment. So in that aspect, yes, I think he will definitely be able to come to some sort of, have a much better relationship with, between the two parties while he's in office. I don't necessarily, from my perspective, I think when I've seen government work together, when I've seen Republicans and Democrats come together, it oftentimes in my at least in the aspects that stick out in my mind, it's not a great thing. I mean, I think of the Patriot Act, I think of the Iraq War. So when I think of government coming together, it's like when government is unified, the people don't stand a chance. But a lot of people, most people don't share my sentiment. Most people think the government is good, and most people want to see their government unified, working together. And in that aspect, not only is the government being unified good, in that aspect, his abilities to work across the aisle is considered a good thing. So in that aspect, Joe Biden is good in both confidence and unity. What about compassion? The reference to compassion, because a lot of this is based on conversations I've had with individuals who are Joe Biden supporters, who voted for Joe Biden, and who are happy that Joe Biden is the next president of the United States. Where did they get his compassion from? Well, one of the things, a lot of this is comparative, and why this has become a factor is because of how cold Donald Trump seems. From the way he treated people, spoke about people, yeah, there's a definite contrast that people are looking for, and Joe Biden oftentimes provides that contrast. One of the times that I heard from other individuals is during the debate while Donald Trump was attacking Hunter Biden's drug problem. And Joe Biden says, well, I love my son. Yes, my son had a drug problem. He's recovered from it, and I'm so proud of him. And that is that's a really touching moment to see a father acknowledge his son's difficulties, but express his love for his son and his compassion that despite his son, the fact that his son was messing up, he's there for his son. And a lot of people expressed how humanizing, how compassionate that revealed Joe Biden to be. And while I like that a father cares about his son, there's something about that bothers me. And it's that despite his having compassion for Hunter, I really wish he would have had that compassion for other people's sons. During much of his career, Joe Biden has spent much of his time being a leading crusader of the drug war. He's pushed to punish people more severely for drug use, drug possession, and drug selling. In fact, I remember, I believe it was in '89, that he was giving a speech in response to George Bush Sr. And in this speech, he said that George Bush Sr. was not tough enough on the war on drugs. And the quote that he used was, "We must hold every drug user accountable." This is about a year after Hunter was arrested in New Jersey for drug possession. That case was swept under the rug. I didn't want to see Joe Biden's son, Hunter, punished severely. I wanted that same compassion, that same acknowledgement that people make mistakes to be extended to other people's sons. Because so many people's lives were destroyed, and have been destroyed and are being destroyed by the war on drugs that continues to this day. And to have somebody leading that charge who knows how devastating it could be to a family, that's something that I found extremely disturbing. And the fact that I have friends who will die in prison because of policies Joe Biden championed, advocated for, and wrote is why I have a personal hatred for it. But I understand that other people don't have my experiences. Other people may not know somebody who's suffered under the drug war. Some people may not even think that people who are being, punished in the drug war are worth it. That's regrettable, but I have to acknowledge other people's perspectives, and that's the purpose of this video. But this actually brings us into the last point of criminal justice, because the question is he good in it? And that's interesting because it differs what people will consider good. If you are a staunch law and order type, if you believe in the rule of law, and that people who obey the law and that we all must obey the law, and anyone that doesn't must be dealt with swiftly, surely, and severely, then yes, Joe Biden's past will be one that inspires you, because he has been a very powerful advocate for stricter law enforcement and harsher criminal justice policies. But there's a lot of the people that tend to have that feeling are people who were told during this campaign that Joe Biden is going to defund the police, when in reality, Joe Biden's past and his present rhetoric were quite the opposite, that he actually wanted to strengthen the police. But then there are many people who are on the left who want criminal justice reform, who think that mass incarceration is a bad thing and would rather see more humane and more compassionate criminal justice policies. Sentences that aren't so harsh, options besides just imprisonment. And in that aspect, I think that I've found that there's a lot of agreement between what I feel and what even people who have supported Joe Biden, voted for him, feel, that we have common ground, that we don't like this aspect of his policy background. He seems to have softened his rhetoric, but time will tell. Hopefully he's being honest and he will actually push to undo a lot of the harsh policies that he advocated for, that he wrote into law, that he voted for. And that would be a great thing for a lot of people. In that aspect, the answer isn't as positive as to whether or not he's good. Because from a perspective of those who, individuals that actually didn't support him, they would actually find a lot of his past to be good. From a perspective of individuals who did support him, they tend to not like his past and not like his criminal justice policies, his past criminal justice policies. How much his current criminal justice policies adhere to his past ones is what we have yet to see. But this is something that was good, where I was able to find common ground, that despite the fact that I didn't vote for him and I didn't want to, I was able to find common ground with individuals who did support him. And they expressed to me that, okay, they understand that he wasn't perfect. And they understand that his policies weren't great on criminal justice. But they definitely wanted to see the other guy out. So overall, it's not going to be an easy question as to is he good in certain aspects. You and I will agree that he is good. He's good on certain aspects. Certain aspects, we'll agree that he isn't good on those policies, those areas. And there's certain areas where we might not even agree that him being good at those things is a good thing. But I think it's important for us to have these discussions and to deal with the nuances so that we can understand where each other is coming from and realize that it's not as simple as black and white. It's not as easy as good and evil. There are a lot of factors to be considered when discussing these topics. So thank you for checking out this episode of Escaping the Echo Chamber, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.